Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Saven's World, the gaming channel for the average gamer by an average gamer. And today, we are jumping into the zombie apocalyptic world that is 7 Days to Die. This is easily one of my favorite games on the PS4 console, but to be honest, it can be rather difficult to navigate, especially if you're brand new to the game. While 7 Days to Die may be an absolutely brilliant game full of endless possibilities, it does lack one very important feature. How exactly do you play this game? That is what we're going to be tackling in this series. We're going to go over how to set up a new game, the different options available and what they all mean, the various controls and menus while in the game, and how to complete the beginning quests. So before you get extremely frustrated, rage quit, and throw your controller across the room, sit back and watch this tutorial on how to play the awe-inspiring, zombie-slaying masterpiece that is 7 Days to Die. Okay, so let's hit that options button on the controller and get started. The first menu here is pretty straightforward and self-explanatory. As you can see on my screen, the first option we see is Continue Game. Now this option lets you continue a saved playthrough. Now if this is your first time loading the game, this option may not be available for you. The next option we see is the Join Game option. This allows you to join a multiplayer game that has been created by another player. One of the great features of 7 Days to Die is the ability to connect with people all over the world to fend off the zombie hordes. 7 Days to Die has a very active online community. There are thousands upon thousands of players out there. So if you enjoy the multiplayer experience, 7 Days to Die delivers. The next option we see is the New Game option. This is where you want to go to start a new 7 Days to Die experience. We will take a more in-depth look at this option in just a minute. But for now, let's focus on the next option, the Options option. Let's press X to select this option and take a closer look. The Options menu is where you go to adjust the audio and video settings as well as the control settings. I would recommend taking some time fiddling around with these settings until you reach the perfect gaming atmosphere for your style of gameplay. All gamers are different. As such, there is no one-size-fits-all setup. Adjust these settings until you find that sweet spot that is perfect for you. Let's press the circle button to go back to the main page and take an in-depth look at starting a new game in 7 Days to Die. 7 Days to Die is a survival horror game that pits a lone survivor against a harsh and brutal world filled with undead abominations who want nothing more than to snack on your juicy and delicious brains. The first thing we must do is choose our survivor. While 7 Days does lack the ability to customize your character, they do provide you with an array of character options, both male and female, for you to choose from. So go ahead and go through the list, pick whichever one tickles your fancy, and press X to select that character. The next section allows you to choose what kind of game you wish to play. Let's take a closer look at each of these available options. We're going to skip the local game for now and begin with the various multiplayer options. The first multiplayer option is the Survival Multiplayer. This game mode allows you to create a world online that is open to all players to join. This is a standard survival mode playthrough. Next up is the Creative Multiplayer game mode. Creative mode allows players to access every item in the game, whether it be weapons and armor, tools and building materials, literally every item in the game. This mode allows you to access and use these items anytime you want. Be warned, however, trophies are not obtainable in creative mode. Once creative mode is turned on, you are no longer able to get trophies on this playthrough, even if you turn creative mode off at a later date. The last multiplayer option is the Private Game mode. This allows you to set up a multiplayer online game that can only be accessed by players you personally invite to join you. While the other multiplayer game modes are open to anyone and everyone, the Private Game mode is only open to those players you choose to invite. Now let's take a look at the game mode that I personally play the most. That is the local game. This is the single-player game mode, which allows you to brave the zombie hordes solo. Although this game mode also offers a split-screen cooperative option, allowing you to team up with a buddy to slay them zombies. Let's press X and set up our new local game. This next screen allows you to choose which game world you would like to play. The default game world is called Navezgane. This world has been crafted by the developers and will be the same every time you load a new playthrough with this game world selected. The other option available for Game World is Random Gen. This option will randomly generate a world for you to play based off of the name that you give this playthrough. For instance, if you were to name your world something like, I don't know, Saven's World? The game would generate a world based on the letter combinations in that name. The only aspect of the Random Gen world that isn't exactly random is the fact that there will always be a hub city located near the center of the map. This is true for all Random Gen worlds, but everything else is completely randomized. The biomes and terrain, the number and location of cities, even the various points of interest in each city or scattered through the countryside. Everything else is randomized. This gives the player a unique playthrough each and every time you start a new game. The world possibilities are endless. So go ahead and choose which game world you would like to play, and let's select the Local Game Options tab to set up this new world. The great thing about 7 Days to Die is just how customizable the game truly is. You can change almost every aspect of the game to fit your exacting style of play. The Local Game Options tab is where you go to do just that. Let's start by taking a look at the standard options. The first item you can adjust is the difficulty setting. There are 6 difficulty levels ranging from Scavenger, which is the easiest setting and the one that I would recommend for those who are playing the game for the first time, all the way up to the Insane difficulty, which should be reserved for extremely experienced players. I would caution players not to crank the difficulty setting up too high until you get a feel for the game and know your way around the 7 Days to Die universe. Next up is the Zombies Run option. This allows you to determine if and when the zombie menace has the ability to run. There are 3 run options available. The default setting allows the zombies to run only at night. This means that during the day, the zombies only walk and are weaker and much slower. At night, however, things get a little crazy. The zombies run. Needless to say, fast zombies are terrifying and much more difficult to deal with. The next option is the Never Run option. This means that zombies never run. Instead, they remain the slow, lumbering, brain-crazed piles of rotting flesh that we all know and love. The last option is the Always Run option, and you guessed it, this means that the zombies always run. This setting turns the lovable, meandering zombie into the thing of Max Brooks's nightmares. No matter the time of day, these zombies will always charge at you like Usain Bolt chasing Olympic gold. I would recommend for new players to start with the Never Run option, and gradually increase the run settings as you gain more experience. Next up is the Enemy Aggression setting. This allows players to choose to face either regular zombies or the dreaded feral zombies. Feral zombies are stronger, have a much bigger aggro range, and even have the ability to sense survivors through walls. Facing feral zombies is not for the weak at heart and should be saved until you've gotten a few hours of zombie slaying under your belt. The last option is the Daylight Length option. This allows the player to determine how long the day and night cycles last. By adjusting this setting, you can either shorten or lengthen the daylight hours. Remember, with the default settings, zombies get much harder and faster once the sun goes down. This will also determine how many hours you will have to fight off that dreaded zombie horde that attacks every 7 days. The longer the night, the longer the fight. Choose the daylight length that you prefer, and let's press circle to head back to the Local Game Options menu. Now, let's take a look at the modded options. This section gives you the ability to alter almost every aspect of gameplay in 7 Days to Die. We will briefly go through each of these options and describe what they do. First, we see the drop on death option. This will allow you to choose what items your character will drop if or when you die. Dropped items will remain on the map and are left in a blue backpack for you to retrieve. You may choose to drop everything, which allows you to retrieve all of the items you had on you when you died. Drop the tool belt, which allows you to retrieve only those items you had equipped in your hotbar at the time of death. Drop the backpack, which allows you to retrieve only the items you had stored in the backpack at the time of death. Or delete all, which will not allow you to retrieve any items at all. This last option means you will lose anything and everything you had on you at the time of death. Next up is the enemy memory option. This allows you to adjust how long a zombie will pursue you once it has sensed you. The times range from 30 to 90 real-world seconds. The next option is enemy spawning. This allows you to adjust the amount of evil zombies that will spawn into the world. Enemy spawns range from 0% to 150%. That's correct. If you like, you can completely disable zombie spawns. Or you can crank that bad boy up to 150 and have zombies coming out of your ears. Next up is the block durability. 7 Days to Die is a voxel-based game. This means that the entire world is made up of individual blocks. Each of these blocks may be destroyed or altered by the player, allowing for an endless amount of possibilities. As such, each block has a durability rating based on the material the block is comprised of. The block durability setting alters the hardness of every block in the game. The higher the durability, the harder it is for you and the zombies to break this block. The next option is the loot respawn time. This will alter the amount of days it takes for loot to respawn in containers. You may set the respawn time to as little as 5 days, or to as many as 50 days. Keep in mind that you must keep your distance from any loot spawns that you wish to reset. The loot will only respawn if there are no players in the area for the allotted time frame. You also have the ability to disable loot respawns completely. That means that once a container has been looted, it can never be looted again. Next up is the loot abundance option. This allows you to adjust the amount of loot that will spawn in containers and on zombies. You may set this as low as 25% or as high as 200%. The next option is airdrops. At noon on the specified day, you will see an airplane fly overhead and drop a crate of supplies in your general area. These supplies are random, but can make a big difference, especially in early game. You may set these to be dropped every 24 hours, every 72 hours, or every 168 hours. That means that you will get a drop either every day, every 3 days, or every 7 days. You may also set this option to 0, which means you will never receive an airdrop. Next up is the 24-hour cycle option. This allows you to adjust how long in real time it takes to progress 24 hours in-game. You may set this option as low as 10 minutes, meaning it would only take 10 minutes for 24 hours to pass in-game, or as high as 120 minutes, meaning it would take 2 hours real-time for 24 hours to pass in-game. The next option is Mark Airdrops. This allows you to choose to either have airdrops be visible on your map, or not. Next up is the Unowned Mini Bike Icons option. Turning this on will make all mini bikes that have not been claimed via padlock visible to all players. And the last option is the cheat mode. This option allows you to enable creative mode, giving you access to the creative menu in-game. This menu gives you access to every item in the game. However, you cannot earn trophies if cheat mode is enabled. Ever. Even if you disable cheat mode later, you may not earn trophies on this playthrough. Let's press circle and head back to the local game options. The next section is Restore Mode Defaults. This option will reset all of the options back to their default settings. Do not hit this button after adjusting all of the settings. You will have to go back and readjust everything again. The last section is Rule Sets. This section will automatically adjust the game settings based on the rule set you choose. Once again, be very careful with rule sets. Do not apply one of these after choosing your desired settings. It will reset all of the settings to the chosen rule set, negating all of your previous changes. So there you have it, a general rundown of the options for 7 Days to Die. In the next episode, we will jump in-game and take an in-depth look at the layout, menus, and basic controls. Saven here saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me in Saven's World. Please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below with any thoughts, questions, or feedback, and remember, the average gamer is always king of the hill on the bell curve.